The text message glowed on Lydia's phone like a neon sign in a dive bar window. Can't wait for our next strategy session in your bed. Last night was wild. -BK. I wasn't supposed to see it. Hell, I wasn't supposed to be awake at 2 a.m, nursing a bourbon and watching my wife of 23 years frantically typing responses to what she thought were urgent legal briefs. But insomnia is a funny thing. It gives you front row seats to the shit show your lives become. My name's Jack Alden, and up until yesterday, I thought I knew exactly who I was. Yacht designer, decent husband, father to the smartest kid in Maine. I fix boats for rich assholes and design dreams that float. Simple life, simple rules. But apparently, while I was busy being simple, my wife Lydia was busy being complicated with her law firm partner, Brent Kessler. The graduation ceremony was supposed to be perfect. Emma, our daughter, was finally getting her degree from Bowdoin College. 22 years old, sharp as a tack, and the only thing in my life I'd never second guess. She looked radiant in that cap and gown, surrounded by proud parents taking pictures like paparazzi. That's when it happened. The moment that cracked my world wide open. I leaned in to kiss Lydia for what I thought would be a sweet family photo. Nothing fancy, just a quick peck on the cheek while Emma beamed between us. Standard operating procedure for 23 years of marriage. Lydia jerked away like I'd tried to brand her with a hot iron. "I'm not your property to kiss whenever you want," she hissed, loud enough for Emma and half the graduating class to hear. The words hit me like a sledgehammer to the gut. Not because they hurt, though they did, but because of how she said them. Cold, calculated, like she'd been practicing. I kept my voice level, smiled for the cameras still clicking around us, and whispered back, "You're absolutely right, Lydia. You're not my anything." Emma's face crumbled. "Dad? Why are you leaving?" "Mom, why are you crying?" I wasn't leaving. Not yet. But Lydia was crying, which was interesting because she hadn't cried in years. Not when her mother died, not when I had my heart attack scare, not even during Titanic. But apparently, rejecting her husband's kiss in public was worth a few tears. "Just tired, sweetheart," I told Emma, wrapping her in a hug that felt like it might be the last normal moment we'd have for a while. "Your old man's been working too hard." The ride home was quieter than a funeral. Emma tried to fill the silence with chatter about her job prospects and apartment hunting, but even she eventually gave up. Lydia stared out the passenger window like she was memorizing the landscape for an escape route. At home, Lydia made a big show of forgetting to give me the spare keys to her car. Her best friend, Monica Shaw, was there, drinking wine and smirking like she knew something I didn't. Monica worked HR at Lydia's law firm, which meant she knew everyone's business and enjoyed sharing it with anyone who'd listen. "Oh, Jack," Monica said, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. "You look tired. Maybe you should get some rest." Translation: maybe you should disappear so we can talk about you. I grabbed a beer and headed to my workshop in the garage. 23 years of marriage teaches you when to retreat and when to fight. This felt like a retreating moment, but I was already planning my next move. That's when I found Lydia's gym bag by the door. And that's when her phone fell out, screen up, displaying Brent Kessler's literary masterpiece about strategy sessions and wild nights. Brent Kessler, 42 years old, thinks he's God's gift to the legal profession, drives a Maserati he can't afford, and apparently screws my wife on a regular basis. I'd met him at firm parties, the kind of guy who calls everyone buddy and tells the same 3 college football stories every time he's had 2 drinks. I took a picture of the text with my own phone, not because I needed evidence. The kiss dodge had already told me everything I needed to know, but because I wanted to remember exactly how stupid Brent was. Who sends incriminating texts to a married woman's phone? Amateur hour. My hands were shaking, but not from anger, from excitement, because for the first time in years, I had a project that mattered. Lydia wanted independence. She wanted to treat me like a stranger. Perfect. I was about to show her exactly what a stranger could do. I walked back into the house, where Monica was helping Lydia strategize their next move. They stopped talking when they saw me, which was adorable. "Ladies," I said, raising my beer in a mock toast, "here's to new beginnings." Lydia's eyes narrowed. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing at all, sweetheart. Just celebrating Emma's graduation and all the exciting changes ahead." Monica giggled nervously. Lydia looked like she wanted to say something else, but Emma walked into the room, still in her graduation dress, looking confused and hurt. "Are you guys getting divorced?" she asked, cutting through the bullshit like she always did. "Of course not," Lydia said quickly. "Your father's just being dramatic." "Your mother's right," I agreed. "I'm not being dramatic at all. I'm being practical." That night, I lay in bed next to my wife of 23 years and listened to her pretend to sleep. Every few minutes, her phone would buzz with a text, and she'd shift slightly, fighting the urge to check it. Brent was probably wondering why she hadn't responded to his romantic literature. Around 3 in the morning, she finally cracked and snuck out to the bathroom with her phone. I heard her typing frantically, probably explaining that her husband was getting suspicious, that they needed to be more careful, that she'd call him tomorrow. Too late for careful, sweetheart. I stared at the ceiling and started making lists. Not revenge lists. I'm not a psychopath. Planning lists. Lydia was a lawyer, which meant she was smart, ruthless, and played by rules I didn't understand. But she'd made one crucial mistake. She'd underestimated the guy who'd been fixing other people's messes for 25 years. Boats are complicated machines. Lots of moving parts, lots of ways for things to go wrong. But when something breaks, you don't just patch it up and hope for the best. You take it apart, figure out what went wrong, and rebuild it stronger than before. My marriage was broken. Had been for a while, probably. But I wasn't going to patch it up and pretend everything was fine. I was going to take it apart, piece by piece, and build something new from the wreckage. Something that worked for me. The next morning, Lydia was gone before I woke up. Emergency at the firm, according to the note she left on the kitchen counter. Right next to the note was her gym bag, zipped up tight, phone safely inside. Emma was making coffee, still looking shell-shocked from yesterday's drama. "Dad," she said carefully, "are you and Mom okay?" I poured myself a cup and sat down across from her. Emma had Lydia's intelligence but my bullshit detector, which made her dangerous in the best possible way. "Your mother and I are figuring some things out," I said. "But whatever happens, it has nothing to do with you. You're the best thing either of us ever did." She nodded, but I could see the worry in her eyes. 22 years old and already learning that parents are just people who make mistakes and hurt each other, and sometimes blow up their entire lives over text messages and rejected kisses. "I'm going to stay at Sarah's for a few days," she said. "Give you guys some space to figure things out. Smart kid, getting out of the blast zone before the real fireworks started." After Emma left, I sat in my kitchen drinking coffee and thinking about Brent Kessler's Maserati. Expensive car, probably his pride and joy. The kind of thing a man would be very upset to see damaged. Not that I was planning to damage it, of course. I'm not a criminal. But accidents happen all the time. Charlie Brennan had been my best friend since high school, back when we were both stupid enough to think we'd play professional baseball. He became a cop instead, retired early with a bad knee and a good pension, and now worked security at the marina where I kept my boat. Charlie knew everyone's business because people talk around security guards like they're furniture. "You look like shit," he said when I walked into the marina office Monday morning. "Thanks, Charlie. Always the charmer." "Lydia finally kick you out?" I stopped walking. "What's that supposed to mean?" Charlie shrugged, not meeting my eyes. "Nothing. Just, you know how people talk." Right, people talk, which meant Charlie had heard something, which meant other people had heard something, which meant my wife's affair was probably common knowledge to everyone except me. "What exactly are people saying, Charlie?" "Look, Jack, it's probably nothing. You know how this town is. Someone sees someone having lunch with someone else. Next thing you know, they're planning to run away to Mexico together. Charlie." He sighed and poured himself coffee from the ancient pot that had been brewing sludge since the Clinton administration. "Monica Shaw's been running her mouth at Rita's place. Something about Lydia finding herself, exploring her options, that kind of crap. Rita's Tavern was the local gossip headquarters, the kind of place where secrets went to die public deaths. If Monica was talking there, she might as well have taken out a billboard. When did this start? A couple weeks ago, maybe more. Rita mentioned it because she thought it was weird. Monica acting all mysterious, talking about how some women just settle for less than they deserve. 2 weeks. They'd been laughing about me for 2 weeks while I was designing boats and planning Emma's graduation party. "Thanks for telling me." "Jack, look, I don't know what's going on, but I said thanks, Charlie." I walked out before he could finish whatever advice he was planning to give me. Charlie meant well, but he'd been divorced twice and currently lived alone with 3 cats. Not exactly the guy I wanted relationship advice from. My next stop was the bank. Lydia and I had joint accounts, joint credit cards, joint everything. 23 years of marriage builds a lot of financial entanglement, but joint means I had just as much right to those accounts as she did. I transferred half of everything into a new account with just my name on it. Not theft, not even mean, just practical. If Lydia was planning to leave me for Brent Kessler, she'd need to do it with her own money. I also canceled the joint credit cards and froze the account that paid for her gym membership, her spa treatments, and her monthly shopping trips to Portland. Again, not mean, just practical. By lunchtime, my phone was ringing. "What the hell did you do?" Lydia's voice was shaking with rage. "Good afternoon to you too, sweetheart. How's work?" "My credit cards aren't working. The bank says you moved money around. What the hell is going on?" "I'm being practical like you suggested, taking care of my own finances instead of assuming I have access to yours. Those are joint accounts, Jack. You can't just... Actually, I can. Joint means joint. If you want your own money, get your own account." There was a long pause. When Lydia spoke again, her voice had gone cold and calculating, her lawyer voice. "We need to talk." "I'm sure we do, but I'm busy today. Maybe tomorrow." I hung up and turned off my phone. Let her stew for a while. Let her explain to Brent why her husband was suddenly paying attention to their financial arrangements. That afternoon, I drove to Rita's tavern. Rita Kowalski had been serving drinks and collecting secrets for 30 years. She looked like a truck driver and had the mouth to match, but she was sharper than most lawyers and more reliable than Swiss clockwork. "Well, well," she said when I walked in. "If it isn't Jack Alden. Heard you've been having some excitement at home. That's what I came to talk about." Rita poured me a beer without being asked. The place was mostly empty. Too early for the after-work crowd, too late for the lunch drunks. "Monica Shaw's been in here running her mouth," Rita said, "talking about how your wife's finally waking up, realizing she deserves better." That kind of horseshit. What else did she say? Lot of nonsense about Lydia being too good for this town, too smart to waste her life on some boat builder. Monica gets a few drinks in her, starts talking like she's Oprah or something. I sipped my beer and waited. Rita had more to say. She always did. Of course, Monica's been divorced 3 times, so maybe she's not the best person to give marriage advice. But she seems real excited about whatever's going on with Lydia. Excited how? Like she's watching a movie she's already seen, like she knows how it ends. That was interesting. Monica wasn't just gossiping about my marriage. She was invested in it, which meant she was probably helping Lydia plan whatever came next. "Rita, hypothetically speaking, if someone wanted to make sure certain information got spread around town, how would they do it?" Rita grinned. "Hypothetically? They'd tell me, information spreads faster than the flu once it hits this bar." "Good to know." I finished my beer and left Rita a generous tip. On the way out, I stopped at the marina to check on my boat and to check on Brent Kessler's Maserati, which was parked in the lot like a bright red middle finger pointed at everyone who couldn't afford one. Beautiful car. Probably cost more than I made in 6 months. The kind of car that would be very expensive to repair if something went wrong with the engine. I walked around it slowly, admiring the paint job, the leather interior, the custom wheels. Brent had left the windows cracked, probably to keep the interior from getting too hot in the afternoon sun. Sugar in the gas tank is a myth, by the way. Doesn't actually damage the engine. But there are other things you can put in a gas tank that will cause problems. Not permanent damage, just expensive, embarrassing problems that would require a tow truck and a very awkward conversation with a mechanic. Not that I was planning to do anything like that. But I did happen to have a small container of marine-grade solvent in my truck, the kind of thing that would make an engine run very poorly until it was completely flushed out of the system. Accidents happen. I was walking back to my truck when Charlie appeared beside me. "Jack, what are you doing?" "Admiring the scenery." "That's Brent Kessler's car." "Is it? Nice ride." Charlie grabbed my arm. "Whatever you're thinking, don't. It's not worth it." I looked at my oldest friend, this guy who'd known me since we were kids, who'd been my best man at my wedding, who'd held Emma when she was born. "Charlie, do you think I'm stupid?" "What? No, of course not." "Then why didn't you tell me about Lydia and Brent?" His face went red. I wasn't sure. I mean, I heard rumors, but..." but you didn't want to get involved. I understand. It's complicated. Jack, come on. You know I would have said something if I was sure. Would you? Or would you have kept protecting me from the truth because you thought I couldn't handle it? Charlie didn't answer, which was answer enough. I'm not going to do anything stupid, Charlie. But I'm also not going to pretend this isn't happening anymore. I got in my truck and drove home, leaving Charlie standing next to Brent's Maserati, looking worried. That evening, Lydia came home with fire in her eyes, and Monica Shaw trailing behind her like a backup singer. We need to talk, Lydia announced. Hello to you too. Hi, Monica. Lovely to see you again. Monica gave me a tight smile. Hi, Jack. I'll just wait in the kitchen while you two sort this out. Sort what out? I asked. Lydia slammed her purse down on the coffee table. You know exactly what. The bank accounts, the credit cards, all of it. What's your game, Jack? No game. Just taking care of my own finances like a responsible adult. Those are joint accounts. Joint means we both have access. Exactly. Which is why I took half and left you half. Seems fair to me. Monica poked her head out of the kitchen. Maybe I should go. Stay, Lydia snapped. Jack, this is ridiculous. You can't just freeze me out of our own money because you're having some kind of midlife crisis. Midlife crisis? That's what we're calling it? What else would you call it? You're acting crazy, Jack. Paranoid and jealous and what, Lydia? Stupid? Too dumb to figure out what's going on? Her face went pale. I don't know what you think is going on, but I pulled out my phone and showed her the picture I'd taken of Brent's text message. The silence stretched out like a broken guitar string. Monica cleared her throat. Maybe I really should go. Yeah, I said, not taking my eyes off Lydia. Maybe you should. Monica grabbed her purse and practically ran out the front door, leaving me alone with my wife of 23 years and her lover's text message, glowing between us like evidence at a crime scene. Jack, Lydia said carefully, it's not what you think. Really, because I think my wife is screwing her business partner and planning to leave me. What part of that am I getting wrong? She sat down heavily on the couch, looking older than I'd seen her look in years. How long? I asked. Jack, please, how long, Lydia? 6 months, she whispered. 6 months. Half a year of lying, sneaking around, making plans. Half a year of me being the idiot husband who didn't know his wife was auditioning his replacement. Are you leaving me for him? She looked up at me with tears in her eyes. I don't know. Maybe. I'm confused, Jack. I don't know what I want anymore. Well, that's honest, at least. I never meant for this to happen. It just happened. Right. Like a car accident. Like the weather. Just one of those things nobody could have prevented. Don't be sarcastic, Jack. This is hard enough. Hard for who? You? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you've been having a pretty good time. She stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the street like she was expecting rescue. I'm not happy, Jack. I haven't been happy for a long time. So you decided to screw around instead of talking to me about it. When was the last time we really talked? When was the last time you asked me what I wanted? What I was thinking about? When was the last time you told me the truth about anything? We stared at each other across 23 years of marriage and 6 months of lies. What happens now? She asked. Now you decide what you want, and I decide what I'm willing to live with. And if I choose Brent? I smiled, and it wasn't a nice smile. Then you better hope he's worth it. Brent Kessler's Maserati broke down on Route 1 the next morning, right in front of the lobster shack where half the town gets coffee on their way to work. According to Rita, who heard it from 3 different sources, the engine started making horrible noises, black smoke poured out of the exhaust, and Brent had to call a tow truck while wearing his $1,000 suit. The mechanic found marine solvent in the gas tank. Expensive to fix, but not permanent damage. Just the kind of thing that happens when someone gets careless around boats and cars at the same time. Weird accident, Charlie said when he called to tell me about it. Very weird, I agreed. Good thing it wasn't worse. I was in my workshop, designing a new yacht for a client in Bar Harbor. 60-foot cruiser with all the luxury amenities rich people think they need to enjoy the ocean. The kind of project that usually excited me. But today I was having trouble concentrating. My phone had been buzzing all morning with calls from Lydia, but I wasn't ready to talk to her yet. Let her spend the day thinking about what she'd admitted last night. 6 months of lying deserved at least one day of consequences. Around noon, Emma showed up at my workshop, looking worried. "Dad, what's going on?" "Mom called me crying, saying you two had a fight." I set down my drafting pencil and looked at my daughter. She had Lydia's dark hair and my stubborn chin, and right now she looked like she was trying to hold the world together with her bare hands. "Your mom and I are working through some problems." "What kind of problems?" "The kind that adults have to figure out for themselves." Emma sat down on the workbench, swinging her legs, like she used to do when she was little, and I'd bring her out. "Here to help with projects." "Are you getting divorced?" "I don't know yet." "Because of another man?" I looked at her sharply. "What makes you ask that?" "I'm not stupid, Dad." "Mom's been acting weird for months. Always on her phone, working late, buying new clothes. And yesterday at graduation, when you tried to kiss her, she looked guilty." "Smart kid. Too smart for her own good sometimes." "Emma, whatever happens between your mom and me, it's not your fault, and it doesn't change how we feel about you." "I know that, but it still sucks." "Yeah, it does." She was quiet for a few minutes, watching me work on the yacht design. "Dad, are you going to fight for her?" "What do you mean?" "Are you going to try to win her back? Or are you just going to let her go?" I thought about that. Was I fighting for Lydia? Or was I fighting against her? "I'm not sure she wants to be won back, sweetheart. Maybe she doesn't know what she wants. Maybe she's scared. Maybe. Or maybe she's just done with being married to me." Emma slid off the workbench and hugged me, something she hadn't done since she was in high school. "You're a good man, Dad." If she can't see that, it's her loss. After Emma left, I sat in my workshop thinking about what she'd said. Was I a good man? I'd always thought so. I worked hard, paid my bills, loved my family, helped my neighbors when they needed it. But maybe that wasn't enough anymore. Maybe Lydia needed something I couldn't give her. Or maybe she just needed something different. My phone rang. This time it wasn't Lydia. It was Monica Shaw. "Jack, we need to talk." "Do we? About what?" "About what you're doing to Lydia. This has to stop." "I'm not doing anything to Lydia, Monica. I'm just taking care of my own business. Freezing her out of your joint accounts isn't taking care of business. It's being vindictive." "Vindictive? That's interesting. What would you call screwing around behind your husband's back for 6 months?" There was a pause. "She told you." "She told me. After I found out on my own." "Jack, look, I know you're hurt." "Do you? Do you know what it feels like to find out your wife has been lying to you for half a year while her best friend helps cover it up?" "I wasn't covering anything up. I was just supporting her through a difficult time." "Right, supporting her. Is that what we're calling it?" "Lydia's been unhappy for a long time, Jack. This isn't just about Brent." "Then what is it about, Monica? Enlighten me." "It's about feeling trapped. Feeling like she settled for less than she deserved. Feeling like she was wasting her life in this small town with... With what? With me?" Monica didn't answer, which was answer enough. "Well, thanks for clearing that up, Monica. Really helpful." "Jack, wait." I hung up and turned off my phone. Enough conversation for one day. That afternoon, I drove to the construction site where I was overseeing the installation of a boat lift for another wealthy client. Physical work, the kind that lets you think while your hands stay busy. I was checking the foundation when Brent Kessler showed up. He looked ridiculous. Expensive suit, Italian shoes, standing in the middle of a construction site like he was posing for a magazine shoot. His Maserati was nowhere to be seen, which meant he was probably driving a rental, while the mechanic cleaned marine solvent out of his fuel system. "We need to talk," he said. "Do we?" "I can't imagine what we'd have to discuss." "Cut the crap, Jack. I know you sabotaged my car." I looked up from the foundation specs. "That's a serious accusation, Brent. Do you have any proof?" "Marine solvent doesn't just accidentally end up in someone's gas tank. Doesn't it?" Seems like the kind of thing that could happen at a marina. Lots of boats, lots of chemicals, lots of opportunities for accidents. Brent stepped closer, trying to use his height to intimidate me. He was bigger than me, former college football player, still worked out regularly. But I've been working construction since high school, and there's a difference between gym muscles and work muscles. Stay away from my car, Jack, and stay away from Lydia. Lydia's my wife, Brent. She can make her own decisions about who she wants to stay away from. Not for much longer. Is that a threat? It's a fact. She's leaving you, Jack. She's filing for divorce, and she's going to take half of everything you own. I set down my clipboard and looked at him. Really looked at him. 42 years old, thinks he's hot shit because he drives an expensive car and wears expensive suits. Kind of guy who's never had to fix anything with his hands, never had to build something from nothing, never had to earn respect instead of buying it. You know what, Brent? You might be right. Lydia might leave me. She might take half my money. But you know what she can't take? What? The fact that I built something with my life. I create things. I fix things. I make things better. What do? You shuffle papers and charge people money for problems you didn't solve. Brent's face was getting red. I'm a lawyer, asshole. I solve problems for a living. Really? Then solve this one. How are you going to explain to your other clients that you're screwing a married woman? How's that going to look in the local paper when someone decides to make it public? You wouldn't dare. Wouldn't I? You seem to think you know me pretty well, Brent, but here's the thing. You don't know me at all. You know the guy who shows up at law firm parties and makes polite conversation. You don't know what I'm capable of when someone threatens my family. Lydia isn't your family anymore. She's the mother of my daughter. That makes her family forever, whether we're married or not. And if you hurt Emma by hurting her mother, you're going to find out exactly what kind of man you're dealing with. Brent backed up a step. Good. Let him think about that. This isn't over, Jack. No, it's not. But you might want to be more careful where you park your car from now on. Lots of accidents happen around construction sites. He left without another word, probably to call Lydia and tell her about our conversation. Let him. Let her know that her husband wasn't going to roll over and play dead while she destroyed their marriage. That evening, I went home to find Lydia waiting for me with a bottle of wine and what looked like a prepared speech. Jack, we need to talk about this like adults. I'm listening. She poured herself a glass of wine, didn't offer me one, which was telling. I know you're angry, and you have every right to be, but we can get through this if we both try to be reasonable. Reasonable how? I think we should try counseling. Work through our problems. Figure out what went wrong. What went wrong is that you've been screwing Brent Kessler for 6 months. It's more complicated than that, Jack. Is it? Because it seems pretty simple from where I'm sitting. You were unhappy, so instead of talking to me about it, you decided to have an affair. I tried to talk to you. You were always working, always distracted, always focused on your boats and your clients. So this is my fault? It's both our faults. We stopped communicating, stopped connecting. The thing with Brent just happened. Right, just happened. Like a natural disaster. Lydia set down her wine glass and looked at me with what I think was supposed to be sincerity. I want to save our marriage, Jack, but I need you to meet me halfway. What does that mean exactly? It means forgiving me. It means working together to rebuild what we had. And Brent? Brent is complicated. Complicated how? We work together, Jack. I can't just pretend he doesn't exist. But you can stop sleeping with him. She was quiet for a long time. Too long. Lydia? It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. You choose him or you choose me. There's no middle ground here. You're asking me to give up everything I've worked for at the firm. I'm asking you to give up your lover. If that means giving up your job, maybe you should have thought about that before you started screwing your business partner. She stood up, angry now. Don't talk to me like I'm some kind of whore, Jack. Then don't act like one. The slap came fast, but I saw it coming and caught her wrist before her hand reached my face. Don't, I said quietly. We stood there for a moment, her wrist in my hand, both of us breathing hard. Let go of me, she whispered. I released her wrist and stepped back. I think you should stay somewhere else tonight, I said. This is my house too. Then I'll stay somewhere else, but we're not sleeping under the same roof until you decide what you want. I packed a bag and drove to the marina, where I spent the night on my boat, listening to the water lap against the hull, and thinking about 23 years of marriage might be ending, because my wife couldn't choose between her husband and her lover. But I wasn't done fighting yet, not even close. The next morning, I woke up on my boat to find Charlie standing on the dock with coffee and what looked like bad news. "We need to talk," he said. "Everyone wants to talk to me lately. Must be my charming personality." Charlie climbed aboard and handed me a cup of coffee. "Jack, people are starting to choose sides." "What do you mean?" "I mean, half the town thinks you're a victim, and the other half thinks you're losing your mind. Monica Shaw's been telling everyone who will listen that you're having some kind of breakdown." I sipped the coffee and watched a seagull dive for fish near the harbor entrance. "What's Monica saying exactly?" "That you've become paranoid and controlling, that you're stalking Lydia and Brent, sabotaging cars, making threats." "Interesting. And what are you saying, Charlie?" "I'm saying my best friend is about to do something stupid that he can't take back." I looked at Charlie. Really looked at him. We'd known each other for 30 years, been through divorces and deaths and all the shit that middle-aged men accumulate. But right now, he was looking at me like I was a stranger. "You think I sabotaged Brent's car. I think you were standing next to it with a container of marine solvent, and 12 hours later it broke down. I'm not a detective anymore, but I can still add 2 and 2. And you think that makes me the bad guy? I think it makes you someone who's about to cross a line he can't uncross." I finished my coffee and stood up. "Charlie, let me ask you something. If someone was screwing your wife, what would you do?" "I'd be pissed as hell, but I wouldn't commit crimes about it." "What if it wasn't just the affair? What if they were planning to destroy your reputation, take your money, turn your friends against you?" Charlie frowned. "What are you talking about?" I pulled out my phone and showed him the text message from Brent. Then I showed him the follow-up messages I'd intercepted, the ones where Lydia and Brent discussed their exit strategy. Charlie read in silence, his face getting darker with each message. "Jesus, Jack. They're planning to claim you're mentally unstable. Dangerous. They want to get a restraining order against you. And then what happens to my business, my reputation, my relationship with Emma? This is really fucked up." "Yeah, it is. So when you ask me what I'm going to do about it, the answer is whatever it takes to protect myself." Charlie handed back my phone. "But not crimes, right? You're not going to do anything that lands you in jail." "I'm not going to jail, Charlie. But I'm also not going to lie down and let them destroy me. What's the plan?" I smiled. "You remember what you used to say when we were kids? The best defense is a good offense?" "Jack. Trust me, Charlie. I know what I'm doing." That afternoon, I paid a visit to Rita's Tavern. The lunch crowd was in full swing. Construction workers, fishermen, retirees, and the usual collection of day drinkers who made Rita's their second home. "Jack!" Rita called out when she saw me. "Heard you've been having some excitement." "That's what I wanted to talk to you about, Rita." She poured me a beer and leaned across the bar. "I'm all ears." I pulled out my phone and showed her the text messages between Lydia and Brent. Not the sexual ones. I wasn't that vindictive. The ones about their plan to paint me as unstable and dangerous. Rita read them twice, her expression getting angrier with each word. "Those sons of bitches," she said. "They're trying to frame you. That's what it looks like to me. What are you going to do about it?" "Well, I was thinking that maybe people should know what's really going on before Lydia and Brent start spreading their version of events." Rita grinned. "You want me to share some information?" "I want people to have all the facts before they make up their minds. Consider it done." By closing time, half the town knew about Lydia's affair and the plan to frame me as mentally unstable. Rita was better than social media when it came to spreading information. Faster, more reliable, and with editorial commentary that made everything more interesting. The next morning, my phone started ringing early. Clients, friends, neighbors, all calling to express support and outrage on my behalf. Apparently, the court of public opinion had reached a verdict, and it wasn't in Lydia's favor. Emma called around 10, crying. "Dad, people are saying horrible things about Mom. Someone spray-painted cheater on her car last night." "Shit. I hadn't wanted it to go that far." "I'm sorry, sweetheart. I never wanted you to get caught in the middle of this." "What did you do, Dad?" "I told people the truth about what your mother and Brent were planning." "What were they planning?" I explained about the text messages, the restraining order, the plan to destroy my reputation. Emma listened in silence, and when I finished, she was quiet for a long time. "Emma? You still there?" I'm here. I can't believe Mom would do something like that. Your mother's scared, sweetheart. People do stupid things when they're scared. Are you scared, Dad? A little, but I'm not going to let them destroy our family without a fight. What happens now? Now, your mother has to decide if she wants to keep fighting or if she wants to try to fix this mess. But Lydia wasn't in a fixing mood. She was in a fighting mood. That afternoon, she showed up at my workshop with a lawyer I didn't recognize. Not Brent, but someone from a firm in Portland. Expensive suit, briefcase, the whole intimidation package. Mr. Alden, the lawyer said, my name is David Morrison. I represent your wife in this matter. What matter would that be, David? The matter of your harassment and stalking of my client and her business associate. I set down my tools and looked at Lydia. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Harassment how? Morrison opened his briefcase and pulled out a folder. Sabotaging Mr. Kessler's vehicle. Freezing joint bank accounts. Spreading malicious gossip designed to damage my client's professional reputation. Interesting theory. Do you have any proof of sabotage? We have circumstantial evidence. Circumstantial evidence isn't proof, David. It's speculation. The bank accounts are joint accounts. I have every legal right to manage my own money. And the gossip campaign? I smiled. I shared some text messages with a friend. Text messages that were sent to my wife's phone, which she left in my house. Is sharing the truth considered malicious now? Morrison looked at Lydia, who was still avoiding eye contact with everyone in the room. Mr. Alden, my client is prepared to be reasonable. She's willing to work out an amicable separation that protects everyone's interests. What kind of separation? Divorce. 50-50 split of assets. Joint custody of your daughter, though she's an adult, so that's largely symbolic. Clean break, no drama, everyone moves on with their lives. And in exchange, you stop the harassment. You stop spreading gossip. You leave Mr. Kessler alone. I looked at Lydia. Is this what you want? She finally met my eyes. I think it's best for everyone. Best for everyone, or best for you and Brent? Jack, please, let's just end this before it gets worse. Worse how? Worse than 6 months of lies? Worse than planning to frame me as mentally unstable? How exactly does it get worse than that? Morrison cleared his throat. Mr. Alden, my client is trying to be reasonable. Your client is trying to avoid the consequences of her actions. There's a difference. What do you want, Jack? Lydia asked. I want you to choose. Him or me. No lawyers, no games, no exit strategies. Just a choice. It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. You're either married to me or you're not. You're either committed to fixing this or you're not. Choose. Lydia looked at Morrison, who nodded slightly. I choose Brent, she said quietly. The words hit me like a physical blow, even though I'd been expecting them. Okay then, I said, but you don't get to choose the terms of the divorce. You don't get to control how this ends. What does that mean? Morrison asked. It means your client made her choice, and now she gets to live with the consequences, all of them. Morrison and Lydia exchanged glances. Mr. Alden, I strongly advise you to consider my client's offer. Divorce proceedings can be unpleasant for everyone involved. Is that a threat, David? It's a reality. Contested divorces get messy. Private information becomes public. Reputations get damaged. Whose reputation are you worried about? Mine or hers? Everyone's. I walked over to my workbench and picked up a hammer. Not threateningly, just something to do with my hands. Here's my counteroffer, David. Lydia can have her divorce, but she doesn't get to rewrite history. She doesn't get to play the victim, and she doesn't get to destroy my reputation to make herself feel better about screwing around. What are your terms? Morrison asked. No terms. She wants out, she can get out. But she does it honestly, without lawyers, without games, without trying to paint me as the bad guy. That's not how divorce works, Mr. Alden. It's how this divorce works. Unless she wants me to get my own lawyer and start digging into her relationship with Brent. Start asking questions about whether they used firm resources for their personal relationship. Start wondering whether her other clients know about her judgment issues. Morrison's face went pale. Apparently, There were some professional ethics concerns I hadn't even thought of. "We'll be in touch," he said, closing his briefcase. After they left, I sat in my workshop thinking about the choice Lydia had made. 23 years of marriage, and it came down to a simple question. Him or me? She'd chosen him. Now I had to choose what to do about it. 3 days later, Brent Kessler made the mistake of trying to steal my boat. I was working late at the marina, installing new electronics on a client's yacht, when Charlie came running over from the security office. "Jack, you need to see this." He led me to the monitor room, where security cameras showed Brent and Lydia boarding my boat, a 38-foot cruiser I'd restored myself over 5 years. "They've been out there for 20 minutes, Charlie said. "Brent's trying to start the engine." "Did they ask permission to board?" "Hell no. I was doing rounds when I saw them. By the time I got back to call you, they were already untying the lines." I watched my wife and her lover attempting to steal my boat, and something cold and final settled in my chest. "Call the Coast Guard," I said. "Jack, wait. Maybe we should—" "Call them, Charlie. Report a boat theft in progress." Charlie made the call while I grabbed my keys and headed for the dock. But I didn't go to my boat. I went to the harbor patrol vessel I kept fueled and ready for emergencies. By the time Brent got my boat started, I was already in pursuit. The chase lasted 20 minutes and covered 5 miles of coastline. Brent was a decent lawyer, but a terrible boat operator. He kept the throttles wide open, bouncing over waves, probably damaging the hull with every impact. My boat could outrun the harbor patrol vessel in calm water, but Brent didn't know how to handle her in rough seas. I stayed behind him, matching his speed, letting him exhaust the fuel tanks while the Coast Guard moved into position. When Brent finally realized he was surrounded, he cut the engines and let my boat drift, while 3 Coast Guard vessels converged on his position. I pulled alongside as the Coast Guard officers boarded my boat. "Jack!" Lydia shouted across the water. "This is insane. It's community property." "Actually," I shouted back, "it's not. I bought this boat before we were married. It's mine." The Coast Guard officer in charge looked confused. "Sir, is this a domestic dispute?" "It's a theft," I said. They took my boat without permission and refused to return it when asked. "We're married," Lydia screamed. "He can't have me arrested for using our boat." The Coast Guard officer looked at me. "Is that your wife, sir?" "For now, but the boat belongs to me. I have the title and registration to prove it." It took 2 hours to sort out the paperwork, but in the end, the Coast Guard agreed that taking someone's boat without permission, even your spouse's boat, constituted theft. They didn't arrest Lydia and Brent, but they did write them citations and make them ride back to shore in the Coast Guard cutter while I brought my boat home. The story was all over town by morning. Rita's Tavern was packed with people wanting to hear the details, and Charlie had to replay the security footage a dozen times for anyone who asked. "Your wife tried to steal your boat?" Rita asked, pouring me coffee. "Apparently. What the hell was she thinking?" "I think she was thinking that everything I own belongs to her, including my boat." "And Brent went along with it?" "Brent's not as smart as he thinks he is." Rita laughed. "No kidding. Who tries to steal a boat in broad daylight with security cameras watching? Someone who's never had to face real consequences for their actions." That afternoon, Emma showed up at my workshop looking embarrassed and angry. "Dad, what the hell happened last night?" I told her about the boat incident, the Coast Guard chase, the citations. "Mom says you're trying to destroy her." "Your mother destroyed herself, sweetheart. I'm just refusing to help her clean up the mess. She's talking about moving to Portland with Brent, starting over somewhere else. That's her choice. What about us? What about our family?" I set down my tools and looked at my daughter. "Emma, your mother and I are getting divorced. That's not your fault, and it doesn't change how either of us feels about you. But the family you grew up in doesn't exist anymore. Because of Brent. Because your mother chose Brent over everything else. Over me. Over our marriage. Over the life we built together." Emma was crying now. "I hate this. I hate all of it." "I know, sweetheart. I hate it too." "What happens now?" "Now, your mother and I figure out how to end our marriage without destroying each other. Or at least, without destroying each other any more than we already have." But Lydia wasn't interested in ending things quietly. She was interested in winning. The next morning, I woke up to find 2 police cars in my driveway, and Officer Mike Sullivan, someone I'd known since high school, standing on my front porch with a warrant. "Jack, I'm sorry about this, but I have to search your workshop." "Search for what?" evidence of vandalism and harassment. I let Mike and his partner search my workshop while I called Charlie to find out what the hell was going on. Brent filed a complaint, Charlie said. Claims you've been stalking him, vandalizing his property, making threats. What property? His car, for starters, but also his office. Someone broke in last night and trashed the place. And he thinks I did it? He says you're the only one with motive. I watched the police officers go through my tools, my supplies, my personal belongings, looking for evidence of crimes I didn't commit. Charlie, I was on my boat all night. You can check the marina logs. I already did. You're covered. But Jack, this is escalating fast. Someone's playing games, and it's not going to end well. The police didn't find anything because there was nothing to find, but the search made the local news. And suddenly, I was the crazy ex-husband who couldn't let go of his cheating wife. That evening, I got a call from David Morrison, Lydia's lawyer. Mr. Alden, my client is prepared to seek a restraining order against you. On what grounds? Harassment, stalking, vandalism, theft of services. Theft of services? The boat incident. My client claims you stranded her and Mr. Kessler at sea, endangering their lives. I laughed. David, your client tried to steal my boat. The Coast Guard has it on record. My client was attempting to retrieve community property during a domestic dispute. My client can go to hell, and so can you. I hung up and called my own lawyer, Tom Bradley, someone I'd known for years who specialized in maritime law and divorce cases. Tom, I need help. I heard. Sounds like you've been having some excitement. I explained the situation, the affair, the boat theft, the vandalism accusations, the threat of a restraining order. Jack, you need to be very careful here. Lydia's playing hardball, and she's got professional help. What do you recommend? Stop engaging with them. No more confrontations, no more games, no more public drama. Let me handle the legal stuff while you focus on protecting your reputation and your business. What about the restraining order? We'll fight it, but you need to give me something to work with, evidence that they're the ones playing games, not you. What kind of evidence? Phone records, emails, witness statements, anything that shows they're trying to frame you or manipulate the situation. I thought about that. Evidence. Documentation. The kind of thing lawyers understand. Tom, what if I could prove they were planning to frame me from the beginning? How? Text messages, recorded conversations, evidence that this whole thing is a setup, designed to make me look crazy while they steal everything I've worked for. That would be very helpful, but Jack, you need to be careful how you obtain that evidence. If you break any laws getting it, it won't be admissible in court. What if the evidence came to me legally? What if someone gave it to me voluntarily? That would be different, but who would do that? I smiled. Someone who's tired of being used. The next day, I paid a visit to Monica Shaw. Monica lived in a condo complex near the mall, the kind of place that looked expensive but was really just overpriced. She answered the door in a bathrobe, looking like she'd been drinking. Jack, what do you want? To talk. About Lydia. About Brent. About the mess you helped create. I didn't create anything. I just supported my friend through a difficult time. Is that what you call it? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you helped plan the destruction of my marriage. Monica stepped aside and let me into her condo. The place was a mess. Empty wine bottles, takeout containers, clothes scattered around like she'd given up on basic housekeeping. You want a drink? She asked. Sure. She poured 2 glasses of wine and sat down across from me. Monica, how long have you known about Lydia and Brent? From the beginning. She needed someone to talk to. And you encouraged her? I encouraged her to be happy, to stop settling for less than she deserved. And what did she deserve that I wasn't giving her? Monica took a long drink of wine. Excitement. Passion. Someone who saw her as more than just a wife and mother. Someone like Brent. Brent appreciates her. He sees her potential. He sees an opportunity to screw his business partner's wife. There's a difference. Monica's face flushed. You don't know what you're talking about. Don't I? Monica, what happens to you when Lydia leaves town with Brent? What happens to your friendship when she doesn't need your support anymore? We'll stay friends. Will you? Or will you just be the person who knows too much about how their relationship started? Monica didn't answer, but I could see the doubt in her eyes. Monica, Lydia's using you. just like Brent's using her. And when this all falls apart, and it will fall apart, you're going to be left holding the bag. What do you want, Jack? I want the truth. I want evidence that this whole thing was planned from the beginning, and I think you have that evidence. I don't know what you mean. Text messages, emails, recorded conversations, all the planning sessions where you and Lydia figured out how to destroy my reputation while she ran off with her lover. Monica finished her wine and poured another glass. Even if I had something like that, why would I give it to you? Because Lydia's about to throw you under the bus. Because Brent's already planning to get rid of you. Because you're tired of being used by people who don't give a shit about you. Monica stared into her wine glass for a long time. They're planning to blame everything on me, she said quietly. What do you mean? The harassment campaign against you, the vandalism at Brent's office. They're going to say I did it all because I was jealous of Lydia's relationship. Were you? Jealous? Maybe. A little. Lydia got everything. The successful marriage, the beautiful daughter, the career, and then she got Brent, too. What did I get? Nothing. Just the privilege of helping her destroy her life. Monica, if you have evidence that they planned to frame me, I need to see it. She got up and walked to her bedroom, returning with her laptop. I recorded some of our conversations, not on purpose. I was using a recording app to take notes, and I forgot to turn it off. She played me 3 hours of conversations between her and Lydia, planning every detail of the campaign to destroy my reputation. The restraining order, the harassment claims, the plan to make me look mentally unstable. Jesus, Monica, this is all the evidence I need. What are you going to do with it? I'm going to end this, once and for all. Monica looked scared. Jack, if Lydia finds out I gave you those recordings... She won't find out from me. But Monica, you need to get away from this situation. Lydia and Brent are going down, and you don't want to go down with them. The next morning, I called Tom Bradley and arranged to meet him at his office. Then I called the local newspaper and arranged to meet with their reporter. Then I called Rita and asked her to spread the word that there would be a special announcement at the tavern that evening. It was time to end this war. And I was going to win it. The Ocean View Inn's annual charity gala was the social event of the season. The kind of gathering where everyone who mattered in our small coastal town came to see and be seen. Lydia's law firm was one of the major sponsors, which meant she and Brent would be there, playing the happy couple for all their professional contacts. It also meant it was the perfect place to end this mess once and for all. I arrived at 7:30, wearing my best suit and carrying a briefcase full of evidence. Tom Bradley was already there, along with Charlie and Rita, who'd volunteered to help with what I was calling Operation Truth Bomb. You sure about this, Jack? Tom asked. Once you do this, there's no going back. I'm sure. Lydia wanted to play games? Let's play. The gala was in full swing. Local politicians, business owners, lawyers, doctors, all the people who ran our little corner of Maine. Lydia was holding court near the bar, looking radiant in a black dress that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary. Brent was beside her, playing the devoted boyfriend, completely unaware that his world was about to implode. I waited until the charity auction began, when everyone was gathered in the main ballroom and the microphone was available for announcements. Excuse me, I said, walking up to the podium. I'd like to make a brief announcement. The auctioneer looked confused but stepped aside. The room went quiet. Everyone knew about my marital problems, and they were probably expecting some kind of public meltdown. They weren't wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jack Alden. Many of you know me as the guy whose wife is having an affair with her business partner. A murmur went through the crowd. Lydia's face went white. What you don't know is that the affair is just the beginning. For the past month, my wife and her lover have been conducting a campaign to destroy my reputation, frame me for crimes I didn't commit, and steal everything I've worked for. Jack, stop this, Lydia called out, but her voice was shaking. I have evidence, I continued, pulling out my phone. Recorded conversations, text messages, documented proof of their plan to paint me as mentally unstable while they absconded with my assets. I played 30 seconds of Monica's recording. Just enough to let everyone hear Lydia's voice discussing how to, quote, neutralize Jack's credibility and make him look, quote, dangerous and unstable. The room erupted in shocked whispers. Furthermore, I said, I have evidence that Mr. Kessler has been using firm resources for personal matters, violating client confidentiality agreements, and engaging in conduct that violates the State Bar's ethical guidelines. Brent tried to push through the crowd toward the podium, but Charlie stepped in front of him. "You son of a bitch," Brent shouted. "You can't prove any of that." "Actually, I can." I pulled out a folder and held it up. Bank records, phone logs, witness statements. Everything's documented, everything's legal, everything's true. The crowd was buzzing now. People pulling out phones to record the drama, others heading for the exits to avoid being associated with the scandal. "Jack, please," Lydia said, tears streaming down her face. "Don't do this. Think about Emma." "I am thinking about Emma. I'm thinking about the daughter who deserves to know the truth about her mother, the daughter you were planning to turn against me with your lies and manipulations." I played another recording, this one of Lydia discussing how to use Emma as a weapon against me, how to convince her that I was dangerous and unstable. "You bastard," Lydia screamed, finally losing control. "You recorded private conversations. That's illegal." "Actually, it's not. Monica Shaw recorded those conversations herself, and she gave them to me voluntarily. Turns out she got tired of being used as your accomplice." The room was in chaos now. People were shouting, cameras were flashing, and several members of the law firm's board of directors were having urgent conversations in the corner. Brent made another run at me, but this time Charlie was ready. He grabbed Brent's arm and twisted it behind his back. Not enough to hurt him, just enough to control him. "Let me go," Brent shouted. "This is assault." "This is a citizen's arrest," Charlie said calmly. "You're being detained for questioning regarding the vandalism at your office last week." "What the hell are you talking about?" "Security footage from the building across the street shows you breaking into your own office at 2 a.m, trashing the place, then calling the police to report it as vandalism. Insurance fraud, filing false police reports, perjury. That's going to be hard to explain to the state bar." Brent's face went gray. "That's impossible. There's no security camera. There is now. Funny thing about insurance companies. They investigate big claims, and your claim for $15,000 in damages triggered a very thorough investigation." I looked out at the crowd, at all the shocked faces, at the lawyers and business owners who were realizing they'd been associating with criminals. "Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for disrupting your evening, but sometimes the truth can't wait for a more convenient time." I walked off the podium and headed for the exit, leaving behind the wreckage of Lydia's reputation and Brent's career. Emma was waiting for me in the parking lot, tears streaming down her face. "Dad, I heard everything. Someone was live streaming it on Facebook. I'm sorry you had to find out this way, sweetheart." "No, you're not. You're glad everyone knows the truth." She was right. I was glad. "Emma, your mother made choices. Bad choices. I couldn't let her destroy our family to cover up her mistakes." "What happens now?" "Now your mother and Brent face the consequences of what they've done. And we figure out how to move forward." "Are you happy, Dad? Are you happy that you destroyed her?" I thought about that question. Was I happy? Or was I just relieved that the war was finally over? "I'm satisfied," I said finally. "Your mother wanted to play games with my life, my reputation, my relationship with you. She lost. Actions have consequences, Emma, even for lawyers who think they're smarter than everyone else." Emma hugged me, and for the first time in months, it felt like we were going to be okay. "I love you, Dad. I love you too, sweetheart. More than anything." The next morning, the story was front-page news in the local paper. By afternoon, it had been picked up by the Portland Press-Herald and the Bangor Daily News. By evening, it was trending on social media. Lydia's law firm suspended her pending a full investigation. Brent was arrested for insurance fraud and filing false police reports. Monica Shaw checked herself into a rehabilitation facility, claiming stress and alcohol dependency. The divorce was finalized 6 weeks later. Lydia got half the house, half the savings, and half the retirement accounts. I got my boat, my business, my reputation, and my self-respect. She moved to Portland and took a job with a small firm that handled personal injury cases. Brent plea bargained his way out of jail time, but lost his law license and his Maserati. Emma finished graduate school and got a job in Boston. She visits me every few weeks, and we're closer now than we've ever been. I still design boats for rich people who think money can buy them happiness. I still live in the same small town where everyone knows everyone's business. But now when people talk about Jack Alden, they don't talk about the guy whose wife left him. They talk about the guy who fought back and won. 6 months after the gala, I was working late in my shop when someone knocked on the door. I opened it to find Lydia standing there, looking older and smaller than I remembered. "Hello, Jack." "Lydia, what do you want?" "To apologize. For everything." "Okay, apology noted." "That's it? That's all you have to say?" I looked at the woman I'd been married to for 23 years, the mother of my daughter, the person who'd tried to destroy my life to cover up her affair. "What do you want me to say, Lydia? That I forgive you? That I understand? That we can be friends? I want you to say that you're sorry, too. Sorry for humiliating me in public. Sorry for destroying my career. Sorry for turning our daughter against me." I laughed. "You want me to apologize for defending myself? For refusing to let you frame me as a dangerous lunatic while you ran off with your lover? I never meant for it to go that far. But it did go that far. You made it go that far. And when I fought back, you discovered that I was better at this game than you were." Lydia started crying. "I lost everything, Jack. My job, my reputation, my relationship with Emma. Was that really necessary? You didn't lose everything, Lydia. You traded everything. You traded our marriage for 6 months with Brent Kessler. You traded your relationship with Emma for the thrill of sneaking around. You traded your reputation for the chance to destroy mine. Those were your choices. I made mistakes. You made choices. There's a difference." She wiped her eyes and looked around my workshop, at the boat designs on the walls, at the tools and materials that represented my life's work. "Are you happy, Jack? Was it worth it?" I thought about that question. Was I happy? I was alone, but I wasn't lonely. I was older, but I was wiser. I was divorced, but I was free. "Yeah," I said finally. "I think I am." Lydia nodded and walked toward the door. Then she stopped and turned back. "Jack, for what it's worth, I really am sorry about all of it." "I know you are, Lydia. But sorry doesn't fix anything. Sorry doesn't give me back 23 years of marriage, or the trust I had in you, or the family we built together. Sorry is just a word people use when they finally understand the cost of their choices." She left without another word, and I went back to work on my latest design, a 40-foot cruiser for a client in Bar Harbor who wanted something fast and beautiful and built to last, just like the life I was building for myself. 3 years later, Emma got married to a good man who treats her like she deserves to be treated. I walked her down the aisle at a small ceremony overlooking the harbor, and when the minister asked who gives this woman to be married, I said, "Her mother and I do." Lydia was there, sitting in the back row, looking proud and sad and older than her years. We didn't speak, but we nodded to each other, a small acknowledgement of the daughter we'd raised together, despite everything else we'd destroyed. After the ceremony, Emma hugged me and whispered, "Thank you for fighting for our family, Dad, even when it fell apart." I didn't fight for our family, sweetheart. I fought for the truth. Sometimes that's the same thing, and sometimes it's not. Are you okay? Really okay? I looked around at the wedding reception, friends and family celebrating love and commitment and the hope that some promises actually last, and realized that I was more than okay. I was free. Yeah, sweetheart, I'm really okay. That night, I sat on my boat, watching the sunset paint the harbor gold and red, thinking about choices and consequences and the price of truth. Lydia had wanted independence, and she'd gotten it. Brent had wanted excitement, and he'd gotten more than he bargained for. Monica had wanted to be important, and she'd learned the difference between being useful and being valued. And me? I'd wanted justice, and I'd gotten something better. I'd gotten my life back. The trip Lydia had planned with Brent never happened. The future she'd imagined with him never materialized. The life she'd thought she deserved turned out to be a fantasy, built on lies and betrayal. But my life, the real life I'd built with my own hands, my own work, my own choices, was still here, still solid, still mine. I raised my beer to the setting sun and smiled. "Here's to new beginnings," I said, to no one in particular, and to the end of old lies. The sun disappeared below the horizon, and the harbor settled into peaceful darkness. Somewhere in the distance, a boat horn sounded. Someone heading home after a day on the water, ready to tie up at the dock and rest until tomorrow brought new adventures. Just like me.